This video details the principles for conduct that can be used to guide ethical decisions. We start the video by enumerating the four basic concepts for ethical analysis in information systems. Then, having in mind those concepts, we explain how to perform an ethical analysis when you are presented with a situation that seems to have ethical issues. After analyzing the situation, we talk about the 6 principles you should follow when making a decision. Finally, we conclude with a real-world example. Ethical choices are decisions made by individuals who are responsible for the consequences of their actions. There are four basic concepts, namely responsibility, that is a key element of ethical action. Responsibility means that you accept the potential costs, duties, and obligations for the decisions you make. Accountability, that refers to the mechanisms that allow to determine who took action and who is responsible. Without it is not possible to perform an ethical analysis. Liability, that extends the concept of responsibility further to the area of loss. These laws allow individuals to recover the damage done to them by other actors, systems, or organizations. And finally, the due process, which is the ability to appeal to higher authorities to ensure that the laws are applied correctly. When there are ethical issues, you should make an ethical analysis which can be divided in a 5-step process. First, identify and describe the facts clearly. Who did what to whom and where, when and how. Second, define the conflict and identify higher order values involved. Why is there a disagreement? What do they want? Third, identify the stakeholders. Who is interested in the outcome of this conflict? Fourth, identify reasonable options to take. Fifth, identify the consequences of those options. Given the possible options selected in the previous step, how will they affect the stakeholders? Having completed the analysis, you need to make a decision. There are 6 principles you should follow when deciding, starting with the golden rule. Its purpose is to help you make a fair decision. To do so, you should put yourself in the position of the ones that need to bear with the consequences of your decision. Then, we have the Immanuel Kant's categorical rule, an attempt to preserve the organization where the decision takes place. For that, you should ask yourself, if everyone did this, could the organization survive? Next, we have the slippery slope rule, a reminder that the decision's consequences may have an impact on a long-term basis that should be provisioned and taken into account. The utilitarian principle is a well-known rule when deciding. If you can't make everyone happy, then make the majority happy. Next, we have the risk aversion principle, which says that when faced with doubts, you should always opt for the action whose consequences produce the least harm or least potential cost. For example, building a nuclear plant in the middle of Lisbon has a very high failure cost, but the probability of that failure occurring is small. Finally, the last principle is the ethical no free lunch. Basically, if you are using something that was created by someone else, then it has value. Therefore, you should assume that his creator wants compensation for his work. Now you know the basic concepts and how you should apply them to perform an ethical analysis. You also know what principles you should follow when making a decision. Now, we present to you a real-world example of a common ethical problem in information systems. Imagine that you own a company that saves the data of both your employees and customers. This information was trusted to your company to keep safe from hackers and leaks. However, to keep that information safe, as you know, using authentication mechanisms is not enough. You need several things such as VPNs, firewalls, and more importantly and expensive, specialized staff to configure and maintain the system safe. As a company, your goal is to maximize the profits, and both the specialists and the service you need to maintain information safe are very expensive. How much are you able to spend in security? If you think that the probability of being hacked is very low, does this affect your decision? But you are on the internet. How do you know the probability? To help you in this decision, you should obviously start by performing an ethical analysis, and based on that analysis, make a decision based on the 6 principles mentioned earlier.